Welcome to Clock Into Your Calling, inspiring believers to live out their faith every day, not just on Sundays. This podcast is dedicated to help you break the sacred secular divide, sharpen your gifts, and take intentional steps that honor God. Discover how pastors, professionals, and industry leaders live faithfully, cultivate lasting change, and advance the kingdom of God. Thank you for joining us. If you find this helpful or know someone who would, please share, subscribe, and leave a like or comment below. God bless and enjoy the episode.
What is going on, everybody? Thank you guys so much for being here. Welcome to another episode of Clock Into Your Calling. Thank you guys for investing some of your time just in being here with us today. I hope you guys are getting something from not only this episode, but this podcast in general. Your comments, your likes, subscribes, all those things mean so much to me. I know it's something that you can take a little bit of time to do, but it means so much to me. It helps me reach more people. Make sure you guys stay tuned to the end for our challenge question and flip over to the YouTube version of this podcast if you want to see the video. So today's topic, we have sent to the Gentiles, ministry outside of the church. And our guest today, Dr. Joel Hunter, I'm honored to sit across from you. So spiritual advisor for Barack Obama for 8 years, senior pastor at Northland for many years, and now pastor of community benefits at Action Church. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the podcast,
Glad
Dr.
to
Joel.
be here. Thanks for the opportunity to talk with you.
Yeah, I'm so excited for our conversation. We're going to try to keep it below 4 hours today because I know there's always so much to talk
Good
about.
luck.
Yeah. But I'm honored to sit here across from you. So I want to let our audience get to know you for maybe that one person. And I said, Dr. Joel, you're not a medical doctor.
Right. My son is a medical doctor. That's the other Dr. Joel, the real one.
So you got a couple doctors. So you guys are healing everything in the family. So I want to ask you, what is one of like the most amazing or unique places that you've ever traveled to?
Oh my goodness. Becky and I have been all over the world. But I think either Cairo, Egypt or Beijing, China.
Cairo, Egypt.
Cairo, Egypt, because they have such an incredible mega evangelical church over there, the Castle de Bara, and they were such good partners for years and years and years. But the museum that they have in Cairo, Egypt, with Ramses II, you're looking at the person who could have talked directly to Moses, the Pharaoh, that could have. But I'm a big history buff, and so I love history. So Cairo, Egypt, simply because our partnership with that church had relationships with every church in the Middle East, every evangelical church in the Middle East, and a lot of the Orthodox and Catholic churches as well. So they were a major force for the kingdom in the Middle East. But I love the history of the country as well.
Wow. That's so cool. I feel like you've been to so many special places, and I just want to see all the photos. When someone goes on a really cool trip, I just want to see all the photos. Did you ride any camels?
I did.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. You can't go to Egypt and go to the pyramids without riding a camel, but you got to watch out because it's a racket going there.
Really?
They'll take you out and then they'll demand money to bring you back. Serious business.
Wow.
So you got to watch out.
Yeah, that's a sneaky business plan there.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. That was a one-way ticket.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we had very good security just because of our delegation. And so we had Egyptian security people with us. And when they tried that on us, they spoke, in Arabic, said, "We will have you arrested." So anyway, it all worked out.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I want to transition before we get into our core conversation for the day. I want to hear a little bit about your personal faith journey. I'm sure there was many special moments, people that influenced you, but take us up to today, highlighting maybe like the key moments that brought you to today.
Yeah. Well, just a couple of them. We had a grandmother that we stayed with every Saturday night, Michelle and I, my sister and I, and she would take us to church on Sunday morning.
Okay.
First United Methodist Church in Shelby, Ohio. And she was she's the one that prayed me into the kingdom and into the ministry. I mean, she was so powerful, not an overtly religious type person, but so faithful. And so I had kind of the formal setting of going to this deeply mysterious, very formal church. All the ladies had fruit on their hats, and feathers and your church hats back then. And the men had pinstripes on their suits. And Dr. Shoemaker, of course, had these flowing robes. It was just so deeply mysterious. But when I was 8 years old, I'll remember this, I was laying in the backyard and it came across my mind that I wondered whether there really was a God. And so, a child, I'm
Yeah.
laying there in the grass. In the north, you can lay in the grass because they don't
Right.
have fire ants or anything. So, and it's a perfectly still day. For some reason, all of my playmates are home or someplace else, and I'm all alone. It's a perfectly still day, not a cloud in the sky. And I'm laying on my back, and I'm looking up at this maple tree. We had a maple tree, silver maple in our backyard, and it just comes in my mind. Well, just ask him, So I just said out loud, 8-year-old kid, God, are you there? If you are, show me. And just at that moment, this wind comes and
Wow.
turns every leaf from green to silver.
Whoa.
And just the wind blows like a very strong wind
Wow.
for like 5 or 10 seconds, and then it goes away, and it never blew again the rest of the day.
Wow.
And to an 8-year-old kid, there's just an assurance, and that was God showing me. It's as simple as it is, and I'm overly cautious about people seeing too many signs or anything like that, or interpreting too many things as signs. But when God shows you something, there's a certainty in your heart. And I never doubted the existence of God from then on. And so, went on to be not particularly religious in my high school or the beginning of my college years, but then got involved in the civil rights movement in the late 60s. And when Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, it threw me into an existential crisis.
Wow.
And I thought, golly, and I went to the middle of Gulbert Chapel, middle of Ohio University campus in Gulbert Chapel, generic chapel. And I knelt down and I said, Jesus, I don't really know how to do this. I'd never said the prayer of salvation. I had heard it once growing up when my usually very articulate, big-worded pastor preached a sermon, and it was a gospel sermon. And he had an altar call. And you didn't do that in First Methodist Shelby, Ohio. But he had an altar call. Nobody responded, but I remembered him saying, all right, but I want to tell you something. Nothing will ever come right in this world until you take care of the sin in your own heart. And that just came back to me after that assassination. And so I knelt down and I said, God, I'm here to take care of the sin in my own heart.
Wow.
I said, I don't know really how to do this, but I know that Jesus, when he died for my sins too.
Wow.
And I just want to tell you, I'm going to follow him the rest of my life. And that was it.
Yeah.
And that was, so those were the big spiritually formative moments in my life.
Yeah. That's so cool. What do you think about this? Because I'm thinking if you wouldn't have had that moment when you were 8, what do you think would have happened?
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't want to speculate too much, but I'm like, that moment was so defining for you.
Yeah.
And then when it came later, because I know for a lot of people, it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
You don't flip the script overnight. Like even the first time I got baptized.
Yeah.
Nothing was like, not that much changed after, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like I had my spiritual high at the moment.
You could speculate and you could say, well, I would have drifted that way or, but honestly, even though I knew I believed in God, I didn't live a particularly pious life. I did what everybody else did. I was an athlete. And so, that was kind of my whole crowd. And even after I committed my life to Christ, there was another moment in which I said, okay, now what?
You're right.
And I thought I was going to become a football coach, a Christian.
Really?
Yeah, Christian. They were the big guys in my growing up. Those were the male formative figures.
And you were a football player, right?
Yeah, football player.
Okay.
And so, and then I began having this, again, recurring dream that ultimately led me into the ministry.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah. And I didn't know whether I'd ever make it through seminary or not. Because again, I was not the religious type.
Wow.
And I've never been highly what I call religious. It just, I mean, it's good for some people to, praise God every other phrase or, it's, say a lot of righteous words, but it's never been who I am.
Right. Right. Yeah. Living it out. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm so excited to talk about this topic because I think a lot of people that know you, they know you for your time at Northland, your time now at Action where I got to meet you, but we're going to talk all about outside of those walls when we're talking about the things, some of the things that you've done outside of the church. What are some thoughts that come to your mind when we talk about this topic, sent to the Gentiles? Like, what does that kind of mean?
Well, it started, our original call for our faith.
Mhm.
We are Judaism is our mother religion, and so when we talk about the Old Testament, those are our roots. And when God called Abram, he called him to be a blessing to all the families of the earth, not just to form a Jewish community, but to be a blessing to all the families of the earth. And so from my very beginning, I was always interested more what was going on outside the church than inside the church. I mean, of course, the church is so important for spiritual formation, for community, for reinforcement, for worship, all of those things. But how I was wired was, if the church isn't doing everybody good, if it's just doing only Christians good, then it's nothing more than a religious club,
Yeah.
that you need to belong to. And so I've always been interested in issues that impacted both our nation and the whole world. And it's just how I'm wired, because I want every knee to bow and give glory to God. And that doesn't happen if you stay inside the church. So that's just how I think of things. And God so loved the world, so loved the world. I mean, you think about, it's not, God doesn't just love believers. He loves everybody.
Right.
And so we're probably not doing our part unless we're figuring out how to love everybody.
Yeah. I think that's so important too, because so many of us work jobs or in community, and even if you work in ministry, you go to the grocery store, you're at a gym.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know anybody that goes to a Christian grocery store, Christian gym, like Christian gas station, Christian, like everybody has this assignment. And I think that it's so good, because I want to ask you too, because we talk about what it is, why it's important, but what do you think is a common obstacle for people that keep me from having my faith on Sunday, and then I can do something else Monday through Saturday?
Yeah. Well, pretty much people don't feel totally comfortable in communicating their faith.
Yeah.
Because A, they don't feel like I know the Bible well enough. B, nobody's ever trained me how to talk to somebody about my faith. C, I don't know. If I get in a conversation, they start questioning me, I don't know how I'm going to respond.
That's good.
And so it freaks people out.
Yeah.
Because the church has not done a wonderful job in training people how to communicate their faith.
Yeah.
But here's the key. What we say is not nearly as important as how we live. How we live is not nearly as important as how we love. And so if you're focused, the Bible says, fix your eyes on Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. It says, love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind and strength, and your neighbors yourself. If you're just fixed on those things, you're going to come out fine. Nobody expects you to be especially religious. As a matter of fact, they don't want you to be especially religious. It freaks them out.
Yeah.
Totally. It's totally like, I don't know how to handle this. But if you're in a normal relationship, you love God. And in a normal relationship, you love people for who they are right then, for who they really are, then somehow God's going to communicate through you a call to himself. Yeah. And you don't have to figure it out. You don't have to manufacture it. Yeah. He'll do it.
Yeah, I think it can be easily transactional. That it's that same thought that you said. Are you gonna love me if I don't go to church with you?
Yeah.
Are you still gonna be my friend? And
absolutely.
It's hard, because if you're in that shoes of, this is an uncomfortable place.
Yeah.
Because I think it's easy to forget, as someone who may have been going to church for a couple of years, how scary that first moment can be. You can easily forget that first moment for you. So you're just like, dude, just come on. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, we're using all this, like, this person maybe have some hurt from the back in the day.
Absolutely.
They could have some troubles from back in the day. And now this is a huge step for them. But for you, it's another Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well, and it's important to remember also that if you try to get to where you hope you're going in that relationship too soon, it'll just sabotage the whole. Like, I hate to get on a plane and have the person next to me start out with, well, what do you do? Man, I'm just trying. How do I not tell him I'm a pastor? Because I know what's going to happen. I know this conversation is just going to go places I don't want it to go. And because they'll tell me, well, my uncle was a pastor, or I'm a rabbi, whatever.
Why do we do that? We clean up, we freshen up.
Exactly.
Really?
Let me show you how religious I am.
I have my Bible right here.
Right. Oh my gosh. So And the same principle in a
Mm.
relationship. If you try to steer that toward religion, if you declare, okay, I'm a very religious person, that's not going to be a genuine relationship because you're not going to be in their world long enough for them to feel heard and listened to.
So good.
So
that's really good. It's tough. It's tough because sometimes you want to seize the opportunity, seize the moment, but also you want to have that equity to ask them too.
yeah,
It can go both ways.
yeah,
If someone just met you in the street and they ask you to do something, are you going to do it? Probably not because you
Yeah.
don't know them. That's
Yeah.
kind of weird.
yeah,
But if once you put in that time and that consistency, how you do it, and it doesn't need to talk about it to be about the mission, right? So just to
Absolutely.
love on them. So let's talk. Do you have any more thoughts on that?
Well, no, I mean, the basic summary thought on this is nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm.
And so everybody has to earn their right to not only be heard, but to have credibility in somebody's life.
Yeah.
And if you care for somebody,
That's
that earns
good.
you credibility. If you care for their kids, if you cheer for their kids,
Yeah.
that gives you
Oh.
even more credibility.
Yeah.
And so you've got to figure out what's important to them and care about it too with them. And when you do that, there's a natural bonding that goes
Yeah.
on there. And so anyhow, I just think it's really important. And no matter if they ever believe or not, you're doing your job. You're loving your neighbors, you love yourself. And that's the key.
Yeah, that's good. Getting excited for what people get excited about is such a good quality because it's like, you might not be excited about that, but it's how you can really love on people well. And I know I struggle with that sometimes, but I'm working on getting better at that.
Mhm.
So, Dr. Joel, you've been in ministry for 55 years, which is
Right.
incredible. Praise God for your faithfulness. I know that what hasn't been easy.
Oh.
I don't know that because I'm not you, but I feel like that's not easy. But I want to ask you, so we know a lot about what you did inside the church, talking about Northland Action. But what are some of your involvements outside of the church?
Well, there've been so many of them because I've cared about so many issues that are important to us all.
Yeah.
Early in the 2000s, for example, I was and still am a big creation care guy. And our first order in the garden from the Lord, our first job was to care for the garden, cultivate it and keep it. Don't pollute and make sure you can bring out the richness and serve the earth. That's what it means. Serve the earth in such a way that it meets its maximum potential. And so just being a part of forums like that, for example, we had partners in England who are farther ahead in this creation care and caring for the environment than we are. They invited a few of us over to stay at Windsor Castle for a seminar. And not only did we do that, and of course our chaplain was N.T. Wright for the week, who is he's one of the great authors and Christian theologians.
Mm-hmm.
But a few of us were invited, Becky included, my wife included, to go visit Prince Charles at his estates. So we did that. The leader of this group was a bishop who was a part of the House of Lords, but was also his spiritual advisor, the same way I was President Obama's spiritual advisor. So he said, boy, I hope you can make it, but I just want you to come out. I want you to see the grounds and so on and so forth. And so we're out there going through the gardens and they're beautiful. And he hears a helicopter. And the guy, he says, oh, there he is.
Oh.
And so this purple helicopter lands and Prince Charles gets out. And he invited us into high tea. By the way, he's a wonderful artist.
Oh.
I don't know if you know, President Bush was also an artist. Really had talent. But Prince Charles, now King Charles, wonderful artist. But he was also this creation care guy that really had an organic farm. He loved raising rare breeds of cattle and so on and so forth. Anyhow, Becky, my wife, who's a biologist, he just kind of, when he knew she was a biologist, kind of got her off and said, they just talk biology for like a half hour.
That's a different language.
Yeah. So the bottom line is that it led us into a number of relationships that weren't church relationships,
Hmm.
but they were important for the kingdom, and they were important for doing the work of the kingdom.
Yeah.
And so I've just been a part of major organizations, National Association of
Right.
Evangelicals, World Evangelical Alliance, all of these things,
Yeah.
because I want to, Christianity's a team sport. And anytime you want to raise one person up to be a celebrity, you've missed the point.
Right.
And so you're always looking for with whom can I collaborate to bring Jesus and
Right.
his values and biblical obedience. And you do that outside the church as well as inside the church. So that's what I've done.
Yeah. And I think you kind of highlighted the point that you've had some cool trips. And by the way, this is why I don't tell people about what I do on the weekends, because I'm going to hear what you did.
Yeah.
I was at the Williston Castle. And I'm like, all right, well, anyways, I just watched a movie. And
well, I'm as surprised as anybody else.
Yeah.
I really am. I tell everybody I've lived a Forrest Gump life, man of below average ability somehow gets photoshopped into these historic, what's God thinking?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And that brings me to what I want to ask you, because you've had the opportunity, you've been blessed with influence, you've had the opportunity to be around influential people. What is the key to staying humble? Because let's just say in today's world, it doesn't take that near as much as you've done to be prideful, to be arrogant, to brag, to do all these things, to feel like almost like a King Solomon kind of.
Yeah.
You've had everything on earth, right? The money, the riches, like you've done crazy trips and everything. Like I'm looking at that, I'm almost getting like prideful for you. I'm like, well, I know him, but does that count? Well, it's like, like what's been on your mind to keep yourself humble and grounded during all this?
Well, I'm about to tell you something very weird, but it's the truth.
Thanks for warning us.
It's the truth.
Okay.
It is not even a possibility for me to be prideful. I was raised, Pastor Justin this past weekend was talking about, none of this is yours. It's like, you don't own anything.
Yeah.
We don't deserve anything. It's not ours. And I was raised like that. Like whatever happens is not because of your ability, even though I've tried to be faithful, I've tried to be disciplined, but you don't, I was talking with, and this is, I hate to name drop here, but a couple of months ago, I had dinner with Pastor Bishop T.D. Jakes, and a few days after the inauguration, it was Bishop Jakes and I in the Oval Office with President Obama. It was just us, and Bishop Jakes was asking him this brilliant question. Bishop Jakes is really a smart guy, and I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm telling this to Bishop Jakes over our dinner. I said, "So you're asking this brilliant question," and I'm sitting there thinking, how in the world did I get here? I'm the turtle on the fence post. How in the world did I get here? I come from Shelby, Ohio, where the largest buildings are the grain elevators for the farmers. How in the world did I get there? And Bishop Jakes said, nobody gets in that room that doesn't deserve it. And I thought, this is where I disagree with this brilliant man. Nobody deserves to be in that room. It's a gift of God. It's God's arrangements. Nobody can arrange for stuff like that. You can be available. Yeah. And then God does what he's going to do. And with anybody's life, if you look back, you will be shocked when you get to heaven how much impact you had, no matter who you are, how God used you in life. And we don't notice it, thankfully.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We're surprised by it, and we should be surprised by it, but it's all God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point, and maybe you have some more thoughts on this, but it's some encouragement to somebody out there who doesn't think they're making a difference right now, because they don't see the people be like the smile on someone's face when you're just holding the door for them.
Yeah.
And you waited 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Like that's impact right there. It's like we can think that, and I think it's our culture too, that a lot of bad stuff's going on, or it's like the big stuff. It's like the athletes, they're kind of on TV, right? All the news with the president, right. all that's being highlighted. So we think that's the only thing that matters. And I was in that boat for a while. I was like, hey, if I'm not playing professional basketball, why am I playing at all?
Yeah.
And that's such a lie, but it's so true, because it can haunt you, and it can keep you back from doing so many other things because you don't think that I'm doing them at the highest level. And I think there's a tiny bit of good there. Like, I want to be the best I can be. There's some good there, but I can't throw the whole thing away just because I want to go out there and play some ball.
2 things are important to remember here. Number one, is you can't imagine how powerfully God can use your smallest action and how it can impact somebody at just the right time in ways that you could never have imagined. I still have people say to me, when you said so-and-so on such and such a Sunday, changed my whole life. Well, we record every service.
Yeah.
I'll go back to that service. I never said that. God said it to them while I was moving my mouth, And so don't ever think that what you do can't be used by God in an outsized way.
Right.
The other thing that's important to remember here is, and we just had this great devotion this morning in staff at Action. Jackson was talking about how he just got married and he just likes to buy little stuff.
You coaching him up a little bit?
Yeah. No.
Listen here, son. I got a couple of years on you, so let me give you a couple pointers.
But his wife was kind of the saver, and he's the spender, and he's saying to himself, "I just buy little stuff, if it's and in my mind, if it doesn't cost $50, it's basically free."
Oh God, that's not a financial podcast.
And his wife is trying to say, "No, that accumulates," Well, and then he went on to talk about how just the little things when he was coming into the ministry, how just a word of encouragement here or a word of encouragement there accumulated in his life to be a big deal. So the more we're consistent with the little stuff, that accumulates. That accumulates in the kingdom. And it has a power in people's lives that you can't imagine until later on. And some of them will circle back and tell you what you meant to them. Yeah. So you don't have to ever do the big stuff because the little stuff accumulates.
And the little stuff is a lot of times it's more available to us too. Like a lot of times we're already somewhere. We're already at the gym. We're already at work.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much, but it can feel overwhelming because I think that's when you start to attach the expectation to it.
Yeah.
So it's, why am I doing it? Now, am I doing it because I actually want to know how their weekend was?
Yeah.
Or am I leading to my agenda?
Exactly.
My master plan that I have of getting them to church?
Somebody made the difference one time between an ultimate motive or an ulterior motive. And the ultimate motive is you really do want to love them like Jesus.
Yeah.
And so you really are interested. The big deal is, will you pay attention to someone? If you actually pay attention to someone, you're actually curious about them. That bestows on them a worth and a sense of being loved and cared for way outside, because the whole world's trying to get their attention, and the whole world's trying to get what they want to out of them. So somebody who actually just wants to pay attention to them, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think God will plant you in the right spot at the right time too, because sometimes it takes one heartfelt question and someone will just share a lot more than you expected. And it could feel a little overwhelming at first. And it's like, well, thank God that I was here and able to listen to them, to care for them. And he does such a great job planning us places.
Absolutely.
And that's a great point.
He orders our steps.
Yeah.
We make our plans, but he orders our steps.
No, that's good. And I want to talk about a little bit about your personal rhythms, routines. You said you wake up at 4 a.m. That's ridiculous. I gotta say,
it's habit.
At 4. Okay, my habit is not waking up at 4.
I never set an alarm. My body just has done it for so many years. It just is going, okay, time to get up.
Why is your rhythm so important for you to stay grounded in your faith? Because what I do know is that if you're not good and if you're going out half empty to the Gentiles, you're not going to be able to fulfill everything that maybe God wants you to do in those moments.
That's right.
So maybe if you want to describe, besides the 4 a.m. thing, besides some things that you do.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And routine and discipline are important because they do have a long-term impact.
Yeah.
But I do get up early. The first thing I do is I go upstairs. I have a study upstairs. So I go to my study and I read scripture very first thing before I do anything, before I have coffee, before I do anything. And I pray for the day. And so I'm immediately connected. And then I get my cup of coffee. I go through about a half a dozen newspapers and magazines just to read what's, right after I go to ESPN website. I got to get the scores. Yeah.
The truth comes out on the podcast.
My priority right after the Bible is seeing the scores.
Who's your team?
Well, my team for the World Series was the Blue Jays.
Uh-oh.
Because Bo Bichette, who's on the Blue Jays, was a Northland kid.
Oh, wow.
And we're really close to the family. I'm going to go to his wedding in January.
Oh, wow.
And so, of course, relationships trump any other kind of loyalty you have. So that was my team. But and pro football is, I'm always interested. I can watch any game.
Mm-hmm.
I used to watch the Browns simply because I'm a masochist. But anyhow, but the point is that we get up and I try to educate myself on the day. I go through emails. I hate to have emails last more than, a few hours. I want to get right back to people because they mount up so fast. So I get that done. Then I go to the gym, or I walk for at least a couple hours, maybe sometimes 3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, when you're old, I mean, it's like survival. This is you got to do this. And then I get ready for the day and usually have meetings, but just kind of take it from there.
So by this time it's like 5 a.m. because you wake up so early. So
yeah, that's right. That's right. So, but I like routine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a routine guy. And what I've learned is that, number one, routine is important for emotional stability because you're going to have the curveballs. They're always going to have surprises. So you have a foundation of what you can control and what know is going to be good.
It's good.
The same thing with exercise. Exercise is not just to make it last longer. It's, if you're in ministry, people will beat you up.
Yeah.
And the world it's a strain. It's a drain to be in ministry because that's what love costs.
Yeah.
You care about people and their burdens are your burdens. So if you're not in good physical shape, you're not going to have the emotional equilibrium that you need in order to be of consistent help. Your emotions are going to go up and down like a teeter-totter along with theirs. So there's always a reason for that kind of discipline.
Yeah. Yeah. So how have you seen that make a difference? And what do you do, I guess, speak to someone maybe that's traveling a lot?
Yeah.
Because I know that maybe there were seasons in your life where you're on the road a lot or you're on the plane a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think you can get to Egypt on the road, but
Yeah.
maybe there may be someday by the time you're listening to this.
Yeah.
But is there anything that you try to do in those moments where my life is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what tomorrow looks like.
Right.
Maybe what do you think on that?
Yeah. Well, you have to plan even more if you know you're going to be on a trip. If you're going to be in a hotel, usually many of them have a fitness room. Even on a cruise, they'll have a fitness room.
Dr. Joel, nobody uses the fitness room on the cruise. I'll just say, nobody uses that.
I do, but okay, I get it.
Maybe the first day, maybe.
But the deal is, if you can find time to walk instead of, even in between meetings, for crying out loud, it doesn't take much. If you're in fairly good shape, it doesn't take much to stay consistent enough to when you get back and you can get back into your workout routine, but just to make some sort of effort to not just, eat and stay up late and entertain yourself and all of that kind of stuff. It just takes some planning in order to say, okay, I got an hour here. I can walk around or I can do this that will at least get me out in fresh air or at least give me something where I'm not just sitting and feeding myself, basically.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, because it goes into this, and I'm sure what you just kind of discussed goes into this answer, maybe to this question, and I'm sure you've got this question before, but what keeps you going, especially in ministry and maybe just in life? Because I know ministry, like you said, it can be taxing. It can be a huge burden. It sneaks up on you. Yeah. What keeps you going after all these years and still making a large amount of difference with what you have right now?
Well, I've got a call of God on my life, and all of us do. And I think this clock into your calling is a very apt title for this podcast, because all of us are called of God. And if it were just me trying to sustain myself in a job,
Mm,
I never would have lasted. But I do believe that God has a purpose in my life that's
that's good.
much larger
Yeah.
than what I can invent or stumble into or be
Mm,
productive for.
mm,
And I believe that if I just keep going, that He's going to somehow use what I'm doing for His glory and for others' good. And so it's just a sense of calling. And this isn't about me. This is about God.
right.
Ultimately, just want to do what benefits His kingdom and what lifts up Jesus. And so that just means I got to get out of bed.
Yeah. Yeah. And let him do the rest.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easier that way. I know. And you talked a little bit about this, but it's a lot of times when you're doing God's will, it feels like you're like, how did I even get here type
Yeah.
deal? It's just
Yeah.
like, like you said, I got up out of bed and I did my assignment for today. I think that's why the Lord's Prayer is so valuable.
Yeah.
It's that daily bread. And sometimes the weight of the world can be on you. It feels like that.
Yeah.
But I think having that mindset of the daily bread can be so essential. I know I use that all the time, especially in my lowest moments where
Yeah.
it's like, I don't need faith for tomorrow, God, right now. Lord, help me today. Like
Exactly.
now. Like I
Exactly.
don't need tomorrow.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't need tomorrow. So I want to touch on something. Maybe you've gotten this question too, but what is maybe something you wish you knew earlier in your faith journey? Like why, like maybe you've had this feeling where it's like, hey, really, I wish if I would have known that sooner, maybe something could be different. And I know we don't like to live in that posture of backwards, but what do you think about that? Maybe a lesson, maybe a little verse or anything like that.
Well, I wish I could have grasped, and I think I did in my emergency times, but
Mm,
for most of my daily activities, I got overly frustrated or overly impatient because I didn't fully grasp Romans 8:28.
mm,
God uses all things. All things come together for good
mm,
to those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. So, so I carried a lot of weight I didn't need to.
mm,
I tried to manage a lot of stuff I couldn't.
mm,
I tried to control things that were way out of my control,
mm.
but somehow I felt responsible. You
Yeah.
know, and I look back and I just think how immature is that?
Mm,
To think that you can control how the world's going to turn out or how other
yeah.
people are going to turn out or the decisions they're going to make. And so I wish I just could have been a little bit more, God, I'm going to do my best here and you
Yeah.
got the rest,
Yeah.
and I've always been a very responsible person, but where I came up short was I try to be responsible for others and that never works.
Yes. Yep.
They've got to be responsible for them.
Right. Yeah. And that's so good. I'd love for you to, I'm going to say something. I would love for you to expand more on it if you have anything, but I was listening to one of your recent sermons on humility, and you shared a story about your construction job over summer,
Mhm.
filling up the potholes.
Yeah.
And talking, and what that really means for someone that may have not have heard of that is doing your job, right? Stop worrying about something that's, 5 miles down the road, something that you can't control, the next bridge being built, because you're missing what's right in front of you right there. And you touch a little bit upon it, but I kind of want to go deeper in the sense of the power of being present and what that does for you in moments and to not carry burdens with you.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm going to go into that relationship and that time with somebody and I'm going to be fully present with them. I'm going to love them well, but I can't leave with that because I can't deal with that. And then I still have my own stuff. And then what if I go to somebody else's?
Exactly.
And then I'm just like I'm wearing the largest weight vest of all time, a
Exactly.
burden.
Yeah.
But I would love for you to maybe talk about maybe presence and anything you want.
Well, the key to, I think, a happy and contented life is the satisfaction with just doing what you can where you are with what you got.
That's good.
But you're not called on God. You're not called by God
Mhm.
to solve the world's problems.
Yeah.
That's what I learned when I was the football coach who got us summer jobs on the road gang. And this old guy that started off on the end of a shovel, he used to brag, and he'll end up on the end of a shovel, and he did. But we're out there, we're students, and we're just
Yeah.
trying to solve the world's problems.
Yeah.
And he looked at me one day and said, I'm sure you're very smart, but there's a pothole right in front of you. Why don't you just fill that up?
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of adopted that as a life
Mm.
philosophy. I can't go out and solve the world's problems.
Yeah.
But if there's a pothole in front of me,
Right.
and I got the material, maybe I can just do that.
It's good.
And if you can do that over a long period of time, man, it's like you've built an entire road.
Right. No, that's so good.
So you gotta be satisfied with, again, we've talked about this earlier, doing a accumulation of a little unheroic stuff, but you're there all the time. When I go to the gym, I don't, golly, there's some guys that are just massive there. And if I tried to lift what they're lifting, I'd be permanently disabled, but I do exercises that are heavy enough for me to stretch my muscles. And so I don't try to do what other people do. I just do what will stretch me at the moment, because that's how you grow. You don't grow by being content. You grow by doing a little bit more than you're comfortable with. And sure enough, that makes you sore enough that you grow and your body lasts a long time. And so that's kind of how I live life.
And I hope that gives someone some encouragement, because I think we can look at a lot of the world's problems and be like, those are too big, so I don't need to do anything. Well, it's like, there's still a problem right in front of you. Stop looking over there. Look right in front of you in your life. You got a relationship maybe with a family member that needs some tightening up to do.
Exactly.
I can't solve maybe this other large issue, so I don't do anything at all.
Yeah.
Well, don't miss it. Don't miss it. That maybe you have your own pothole. But I want to say, okay, I want to wrap up here. I want to get into, I wish one of you give me a couple minutes, maybe max on this, but talking about sent to the Gentiles means you need to know the gospel. So how would you sum up maybe the gospel that someone could live by daily in their life?
Well, first of all, remember the great commandment: love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. So you are the gospel to those people. If they see you loving God, faith is contagious. That's contagious. So you got to remember, I've got to live my life with integrity. I've got to live my life for God, who is way beyond my life. I've got to live my life for other people. Love your neighbors yourself. And so if they see someone who loves God well, who loves others well, then if you do get into a personal relationship with them, the focus of where we want everybody to have the assurance that we have, is helping them see what God did for us in Jesus Christ. That we were separated from God, but because of Jesus, the thing that separated us, our sin, has been paid for, and has been obliterated, and we're no longer slaves to sin. We are slaves to righteousness. Now we can do the right thing. We can have this closeness to God, and we want that for everybody. The greatest thing in all the world is to know that you're going to live forever in heaven. It's the greatest thing in all the world. Somebody once said, and I love this phrase, he said, if you're not a believer, the closest thing to paradise you're ever going to get is this world. If you are a believer, the closest thing you'll ever get to hell is this world.
Wow.
That's powerful, isn't it?
That's deep. Yeah.
And so
wow.
And so many times when somebody asks me how I'm doing, I'm saying, I'm one day closer to paradise, and
they're going to think you have a vacation coming up.
That's right. And I do.
A long one.
So just love God, love others. And if you get the chance, tell them what Jesus did for her.
That's really good. The power of the testimony is so good. So what would you say to someone listening to this? Maybe they're thinking about this. They're like, Dr. Joel, I'm a little scared to live out my faith Monday through Saturday. I'm a little, and maybe like a little nervous. Like, I just don't know how to do it. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just not doing it. Right. What would you say to someone like that?
Well, first of all, it's good if you're scared, because if you're not scared, that means you're just in your comfort zone and you're not making any difference.
That's good.
If you're not uncomfortable, you're not making a difference.
That's good.
And you're not growing personally. And so it's great to be uncomfortable. You don't have to live in discomfort. I mean, just to be a adrenaline junkie, but it's always good to kind of push the edge a little bit to know that you're getting outside yourself and into unfamiliar territory. The other thing I would say is, don't be too concerned about what to say or about how to explain the Bible or getting into theological discussions. Just focus on how you love God and what he's done for you, what he's done in your life, because that's what people want to hear about. People don't want to argue theology. They want to know God's made a difference in somebody's life. Maybe he'll make a difference in mine. So your strongest assurance is your own relationship with God. Nobody can argue with that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's good.
And so just concentrate on that. The rest will all come.
Yeah, that's really good. And that being just consistent with your own faith. Because if you drop off, they're going to have that thought in their head, well, good thing I didn't do it, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. And hopefully you're staying strong in your faith. So I want to end, as we do all of our podcasts, we have a challenge question for you guys. And I want to ask you, talking about the Monday through Saturday faith, that's going to be outside the church walls, unless you guys are going to a Wednesday service or whatever that is. But I want to ask you, how will you let your faith move outside of the church walls this week? Because a lot of times the next week, there has to be a sense of urgency with this, and to get a little uncomfortable. And a little uncomfortable is okay. A little uncomfortable is like, it means you're growing and you're pushing yourself, as we talked about. So, Dr. Joel, I'm so honored and thankful for you taking a little bit of your time to be here today. I know that they've got something from this. I've got something. I can't wait to listen to this back myself because I'm going to be getting something from it. But thank you. Do you have any final words, comments, anything on your mind?
Well, just, I can't tell you, this is what Ian said is so important. And that is you are sent, you are called. And if it comes in the simplest terms of caring for somebody, even to ask somebody, are you okay?
Yeah.
That's just good. Showing concern for somebody will communicate the love of God that's already inside of you.
Yep.
And that's the main part of our calling. It doesn't have to be spectacular. As a matter of fact, it's good if it's not spectacular.
Yeah.
If it's just real and something you can ask often.
Yeah.
So go get them.
Go get them. Well, yeah. You basically summed up my ending line anyway for me. So thank you. That was unplanned. But just remember, guys, that you've been given a calling and a purpose only you can fulfill. So don't settle for the ordinary, but step into the extraordinary work that God wants to do in your individual life. Dr. Joel, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching. See you next time.